Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of the Third Man Cricket Podcast. This is Ravi Teja. I have Pavan Bhaiya with me, all the way from Western Canada. So we did have great fun watching the first test at Centurion, uh, and all the way from Canada here because it's the holiday season. We could afford to lose some sleep. It probably started at 12 a.m. in Vancouver and 1 a.m. in Calgary. So it was quite fun, a new experience altogether. But nonetheless, what gave us even more happiness and pleasure was the way India pretty much won the game in 3.5 days. To say, considering the date has been right from heroics of KL Rahul with the bat and the ability to of Indians these days to pick 20 wickets anywhere across the world. So this is some real happiness that's pretty much that we are getting to see. So here I welcome Pavan Bhaiya. How are you doing, Pavan Bhaiya? Your quick thoughts on the game. What do you think? How happy are you?
Hi, Ravi. Thank you for welcoming me. Extremely happy. We ended the year on another brilliant note. The year started off with that great test match in Sydney, followed by conquering the Gabba, and now it has ended with a very comprehensive victory at Centurion, which is another fortress of South Africa, who have just lost two test matches out of the 26 they have played since their readmission to international cricket. So, a brilliant achievement by Team India again, who are making it a habit of securing these victories more often in the Siena countries, which has been the acid test for all the test playing nations that especially come from the Asian subcontinent. All in all, I would say the main protagonists of this victory have to be the Indian openers in that first innings on day one, and then the superb display of the seam bowling attack across both the innings, led ably by the uh, superb Jasprit Bumrah and Mohammad Shami, who are, I think, the best test bowling pair at this point of time. Although many people would want to argue about that, but in my view, they are definitely the best new ball pair going around and better than the other Aussie and the English and the New Zealand attacks, as far as I'm concerned. So really happy we were able to start the series on a very positive note. Otherwise, we normally see India starting off slowly in overseas test series and then finding their way in the ensuing test matches. But this victory should hold them in good stead, and I don't see a reason why we should not be able to wrap up the series come the New Year's Test match at Johannesburg.
Absolutely right. So, of course, just to start with, we all pretty much can agree that it's a South African team which is quite different to the one we toured in 2018, 17, 18. Uh, when it comes to Australia and the tour of 2018, we everyone pretty much pointed out the how Australia were not 100% given the team, considering their two main players were out, and probably 2021 victory in Down Under felt even better for that very reason. But when it comes to touring South Africa, I'm seeing some noise about how the quality of South Africa has pretty much dipped because back in 2018 we did have the greats of Ashim Amla, AB de Villiers, Duplessis, and also the tail in the form of Beat Vernon Philander, Dale Steyn, and Morne Morkel, which used to wag a lot in terms of batting too, which did trouble India back then as well. Uh, uh, but point is, we can when you actually think of a root cause or where to actually point a finger at, it's pretty much agreeable that the succession planning has been fairly poor. But at the same time, this effort of the Indian team to wrap up the test in 3.5 days is much beyond the opposition's ability to. I mean, because we did see how uh, South Africa has tested India in terms of batting and bowling at multiple phases in the game. And how it was the ability and grit and determination of this very amazing Indian team to actually conquer this very feat. Uh, I mean, to start with KL Rahul and how he has fared and how he scored 30% of what India has scored, roughly about 146, 147 runs of the 500 runs that we scored. Truly a deserving man of the match, in my opinion. There were a lot of talk about the large man of the match that he's got, and how maybe Siraj was a better contender, but this I don't think, because it was indeed very tough to bat on this track, and the lone centurion in KL Rahul deserves that very, uh, I'll say, you know small award in that sense.
Absolutely,
What
I have to agree.
what do you think of the bowling effort as well?
Yeah, I would have absolutely have to agree that KL Rahul was the main difference between both the sides. You see, India won the Test match by 113 runs, which is a very comprehensive victory, and KL Rahul scored 122 in that first innings. So I think that was the main difference between both the sides. Because if you see, apart from that innings and the 60 that Mayank Agarwal scored in the first innings, along with Ajinkya Rahane's 48, not many batsmen were comfortable on that pitch. And first of all, I think it was a bold call from Virat Kohli to bat, considering the weather around in Centurion. But it was a positive move, and India's record, batting first in overseas conditions and winning test matches after doing that, is pretty good, and it has gone to a next level under Virat Kohli's captaincy. But just before I touch on that point of how KL Rahul has developed and grabbed his second chance, and taken the bull by the horns, literally. Many people be are overcritical of the performance of the Indian team and say that they have come up against a weak side, but that is not India's problem at all. When other teams play well and win, you say that they have played up to their potential. But when some of the critics, and they are Indian journalists itself, when the Indian team performs in such a manner, they say, "Oh, the opposition was not at full strength," because that is not India's problem. That is something that India cannot control. All the teams go through a transition phase, and teams like South Africa, West Indies, Pakistan, Sri Lanka have taken that much bit longer because they have not had ready-made products coming via their domestic system, and it is due to the failure of their domestic systems. Why can't we give credit to the Indian domestic system that has developed such a wide range of depth in all the formats of the game, and that's the reason we are ruling the roost, and we are the best test team at this point of time, irrespective of whether we have won the World Test Championship or not. I'm not going to say that New Zealand is the best test team in the world on just on the basis of winning that one of match in the WTC final. This team India has been performing in various conditions, and it is a testament to the ideology of Virat Kohli, Ravi Shastri, and the rest of the players that we are going to be remembered, and this Asian generation is going to be remembered one of the best test cricketing sides to have graced the field. So, you know, I find it totally abysmal when people criticize and say that because the opposition is not playing well, India is winning. But why is India not playing well? Because India is playing superior than them at this point of time, and they are making them look pretty ordinary by their skill set that they have got to offer. And coming to this test match, after having won the toss, I think this has to go down as one of best hundreds of KL Rahul's career, because that pitch on day one is not easy to bat on. Agreed that the likes of Angiri and Rabara did not hit their straps in the first couple of sessions, uh, despite the help that the pitch was offering. But again, the kind of discipline that the openers showed was really nice to watch. And I think the one change that I can see in KL Rahul's game is his surety outside the off stump. He has developed this new technique of playing inside the line of the ball. If you see, most of the times, um, you know, many people who don't understand the game of cricket might think that he is getting beaten time and again, but he's deliberately missing the ball by just playing inside the line. And that is something that he has developed, I think, very recently since that tour of England, after having been given that second lease of life uh, by injuries to other team members. But he's grabbed his chance, and I believe he scored his sixth overseas 100 for a batsman of his class. He's not played much test matches at home, and has scored only 100. the 199 against England at Chennai, but all his other hundreds have come in various conditions. That proves that he's an all-condition player. Like I mentioned, he has tightened up his game outside the off stump, and he's ready to grind it out in the first couple of sessions. Be that classical Test match opener of saying that I'm going to give those first couple of hours to the bowlers, and then you know make hay during the rest of the day. So that pretty much set the platform for us, and we ended up on 270 for 3 out on the end of day one. And we were all thinking that we were all good to score 400. And similar thing happened in that test match at Lords as well, where we were again in a similar position at the end of day one, but threw it away the next day. Yes, so it's been a combination of KL Rahul's innings and the Indian pace attack, like I mentioned, that has been the catalyst for this victory. But you've got many holes to plug, and the silver lining is that our team is winning in despite our middle or not performing to potential that they're capable of, and one can only imagine how um, ruthlessly and even more convincingly we'll start to pummel the opposition to submission once that middle order also starts firing. And uh, how much ever we say about the Indian pace attack, that's less because the kind of consistency and the pressure that they're keeping the batsmen under, especially with Siraj being backed up as a third steamer. I think if they keep themselves fit for the next 4 or 5 years, I don't see India being posed many challenges in any condition. So kudos to that pace attack and to the mentality of the current captain, whose thought basically is it has come a full circle. We started off on that journey on that tour of South Africa in 2017-18. Um, Won that test match in Joburg, then went to England, and then the fruits started arriving from the 2018 Aussie series. And there was a very concerted effort by the coach and captain to make sure that they build the team around a strong pace attack. So uh, I think as long as we are going to keep them fit and on the park, playing most of the test matches, I think we'll see most of the results going our way. Uh, and I don't see that changing in going forward in this series as well.
Absolutely true. With of course the major credit should necessarily go to the leader, the captain Virat Kohli, and of course we did talk in in depth about his love for Test cricket in our previous podcast and how much he loves to. But also good to see Virat winning tosses. Not very sure if it was a good decision to bat or ball, but winning toss itself was quite nice to see given his luck with the coin. Uh, that uh, again a decent. I mean, come on, we all, irrespective of being Virat fans or no, we all are waiting for that 71st century because it's been good solid 24, 25 months since that last happened. Uh, the first innings, track looked good, but yet again the same outside off delivery. It wasn't even outside off. He was probably playing not even to the fourth stump, but probably the fourth set of stumps. Maybe the seventh, maybe ninth or tenth stump probably. There's a very natural question that arises. Because he was playing those beautiful gracious cover drives even in the first innings and also in the second. So where exactly is the problem? Is it a problem with intent or is it a problem with mere execution? Is a question that I was wanting to ask many. I've seen how Twitterati has and how they find the outside of stumps should be just offside of delivery should just not be nudged. But having said that, Virat did score beautiful boundaries out there. KL Rahul also kind of played a lot on offside of stump for that matter. So I personally feel it's more to do with execution and come on, for God's sake, I don't think we should be quoting Sachin's 241 at SCG without scoring those many number of runs without scoring a cover drive, because every player has his own uh, different approach to play. So given the situation and also pedestal that India was already set in, probably it allowed Virat to explore and go towards those cover drives. But having said that, it's still a big concern, because the fashion of how he's getting dismissed has pretty much been the same, be it in England and also out here. So what do you think? What's your view, Bayaz? Is it intent the problem or the execution? What do you think?
I think it's a bit of both, and it's not like he has been getting out cheaply in the last 1 year, especially since that tour of Australia. He played only one test match in Australia, that first day night test match in Adelaide, and he was looking like $1 million in that first innings, 70 odd, and he got run out. Then he played a couple of good innings in England as well, and in that first innings of the WTC final, also he looked very, very solid. And he's doing the hard grind and getting through to those 30s, 40s, 50s. And earlier in his pomp, when he got to those scores, then there was no way back for the bowling side. He would invariably go on and score those big runs because um, such is the temperament of good players that once they cross 20, 30, they will make it count really big um, for themselves and for their team. But I think what is happening is of late, he's been out of a little bit of luck as well. And it starts to play on the big player's ego, who says that now I have gone through the tough time, reached my 30s, 40s. Now is the time for me to cash in. And it is that mentality, I think, which is proving to be the hindering block for Virat at this point of time. When he gets onto that stage and has seen off the early stages and got to 30, 40, he says, until that time, he keeps on leaving those balls which are being bowled on the fifth or sixth stump. And then once he has thought to himself that now this is a time to press the accelerator, he's going for that shots. And like I mentioned, sometimes you keep playing at those deliveries, and when it's your day, you just don't nick them off and you go on to score century. What I just think is that mental tuning has to be done, and maybe here is where somebody like Rahul Dravid can come in and say that maybe you should think of getting that big score by playing in the similar manner throughout the innings and take your time, and not be in a hurry. Uh, you go through the grind, in an ugly manner. Not to say that he wouldn't play good shots, but take your time and score a un-Virat Kohli like 100 and just get to that figure, and that will then open up the floodgates, and break the shackles, and from there on it'll be no looking back because it's just a case of getting to that mark. Um, People only judge great players by the number of hundreds. That's the unfortunate part, um, and especially in a player uh, of Virat Kohli's quality, they definitely judge him by that because the frequency with which he was getting those hundreds was phenomenal. Um, and it's not like he's been woefully out of touch or form in the last 2 years. It's just that getting that one innings across. And again, we are hoping that either in Joburg or in Cape Town that comes around and he takes his time, even after getting settled down and scores those tough runs. And I think he should be fine. Not everybody has that mental tenacity to just put the cover drive out of their book. I remember uh, the other day, Sunny Gavaskar was joking in the commentary that maybe Virat should just call Sachin after this test match, wish him New Year, and also ask him how did he do that in Sydney. Uh, the only coincidence is that he did that in Sydney, which was the New Year's test match, and the upcoming test match also is New Year. So maybe 2020 and 2021 are back, and maybe he can start off 2022 with a bang. But uh, you should not be too duly worried because if he was struggling, and um, woefully getting out like he did on that tour of England in 2014, that would have been a cause of worry. But not this one, I would say. He looks in good touch, and it's just a matter of having that bit of luck going his way, and then he'll be on his way, and we'll see Virat 2.0 definitely unleash himself.
100%, very fair point. And yep, ticking pretty much everything in all segments. We do not have our mainstream frontline opener in Rohit Sharma, who's been our best batsman this year. But still, despite that, the effort, be it in the New Zealand series and also in the current series as well, how Mayank has played also deserves good amount of appreciation. And what else is required, like you rightly mentioned, is the middle order firing. We did see those glimpses in the second innings with Pant actually, scoring those very invaluable 34 runs. Uh, Maybe not invaluable, but yet, at that very situation at 111 for six, it pretty much looked very tight to even get to 175, and Pant and Ashwin were there around for some time, and then some later fireworks by Bumrah as well. Um, uh, Having said that, now going to Wanderers, beautiful stadium up there, and how we managed to win in 2018 on a very cranky pitch. But this time around, definitely in there are the favorites. Even more so because South Africa kind of suffer a jolt with their very well experienced batsman of Quinton de. Firstly, making himself unavailable because of his paternity leave, and the retirement would not necessarily impact much because either way he was out. But having said that, it would be quite tricky. Uh, we there might be either of Varane or Rickleton might be playing. So which one of them is a question, or probably we'll have to see that. And having said that, the bowling art will improve with Duan Olivier coming in, maybe for Janssen. So that should be good. I think in terms of batting, maybe they're not as good as expected. But having said that, the bowling will definitely. But on a Wanderers track, maybe if it's even more, even if it's 10% more stable than it was last time around, it's going to be India all the way, and we can expect to score another set of 600 runs probably this time around in both innings, of course. But yeah, it's something that we all can look forward to. So second test, I mean, India, I personally think, I don't think there should be any change that we would necessarily go for. Uh, a same simple, straightforward playing 11, would be good until unless there are no injury concerns in the next 3 or 4 days to say so. What's your view, Baya? What do you think?
Yeah, firstly, many people will be unaware of this fact that despite India's woeful touring record in South Africa, there is one venue that India has not lost a test match till now from 92 onwards, and that is uh, Wanderers at Johannesburg. And they have an impeccable record over there of having played 5 test matches. They have won uh, 2 test matches and drawn 3. Never once have they been beaten at the Wanderers, despite historically not having won a series in South Africa. That's a positive for us. Our first ever victory on South African soil in 2006 under Rahul Dravid was at the Wanderers. And then, of course, in our last series in 2017-18, despite having lost the series, we played very well in that first test match on a horrible pitch, I would say, and came up trumps. So that is one positive we're taking to the Wanderers of never having lost a test match over there. And coming to the sides, when we start off with South Africa, yeah, the retirement of Quinton de Kock was a shock. Uh, I mean, he was not in a position to play the second and third test matches considering his parental leave. But he's just 29, and South Africa have invested a lot in him, and they were looking at him to be, a test skipper at some point of time. But I don't think he seemed that interested, and he's decided to put all his eggs into the T20 and one-day basket. But that's a shame. He had great potential, but never realized that as far as the test arena is concerned. And uh, the South African commentators have spoken very highly of Varane, that he's performed very well as a wicketkeeper batsman in the domestic circuit. So I think he should be the first in line and get his chance for debut in that test match. And as far as the batting is concerned, yes, I don't see many options. They will pin more hopes on the likes of Dean Elgar, who was very good and who was the sort of a street fighter opener, who was not the most pleasant to watch, but fights it out, and to average close to 40 in South African conditions as an opener is a very good performance from him over these years. But I think they would look for more contributions from their experienced domestic players like Keegan Peterson and Rassi van der Dusen. They have proven domestic performance, and these are familiar conditions with what they are coming up against. So more will be expected out of them. Temba Bavuma gave a good account of himself in both the innings, and he should look to continue in the same vein. I think they expect a whole lot of things from Vian Mulder as well. They think of him being all rounder. Uh, some have touted him to be Jack Cullis. I think that's unwarranted high praise at this point of time. He's not even close to being 20% of what Jack Cullis was even in his early years. So they would want more out of him with the ball and the bat. And as far as their bowling attack is concerned, I personally feel I will not be surprised if I see Keshav Maharaj being dropped at the Wanderers and South Africa decide to go with an all pace attack and replace Keshav Maharaj with Dwayne Olivier. For South Africa's only way of winning this test series is providing green bouncy pitches, and they very well know that it can backfire on them because India have a potent enough seam attack to take advantage of those conditions, like they showed in Centurion as well. But that is their only chance, and hope that their batsmen use their domestic experience on tackling uh, bowlers on such kind of pitches, and they somehow win with the likes of Rabada and really leading that pace attack. Duan Olivier, so far in that some domestic South African season, has been very good and has taken 28 wickets across 3 matches. So I think they'll be going it with full seam attack. And finally, India on the other end, I personally feel that with the kind of form that Siraj, Bumrah, and Shami are in, we don't require that fifth bowling option as of now. And I will play the extra batter at number 6 and like to keep that insurance in batting. Bat Iyer or Vihari. I'll go for Harma Vihari at number 6 personally. Have Pant at number 7 and then Ashwin. Entrust him with more responsibility of doing the holding job in the first innings and rotate the seamers from the other end because I think we have enough quality in our bowling attack and 4 bowlers should be able to do the job against this South African batting lineup. Um, Getting the runs has been a major problem, so I would put in the sixth batsman in the team, and uh, uh, just tighten up that loose end. And Mike Agarwal finally can take a leaf out of his good friend Rahul's book and get his game outside the off stump very tight because for an test opener, his game outside the off stump recently, especially the way he got out in the second innings to Marco Jansen was something that he could have easily left, and he can definitely pick up on KL Rahul's brains and tighten up his game outside the off stump, and he'll score more runs. Uh, so that is my thought going into the Joburg test, and uh, again, if South Africa need to win again, they need to put up runs on the board 275 to 300, which is going to be very difficult against this Indian bowling attack. So I would say India again starts at the favorites, and it'll be nice to wrap up an overseas series win before the last test match because that does not happen very often.
Fair point. Uh, I agreed there. I mean, good insights there, Pawan Bhaiya. So, all the way from Africa to the Pacific, and what's happening in Australia or in New Zealand. Okay, Ashes has not been going as planned in terms of how the cricket lovers would love to hear, even going as planned as how even the organizers would love to see it. So, Pointer Travis Head is tested positive today. The board has added Mitchell Marsh, Nick Madison, Josh Inglis to the Australian squad, and David tested positive. And also in the England Cup, there are about 7 COVID positive cases. So, the fourth test at Sydney, it looks in jeopardy. Not very sure if they'll really look forward to kind of just finish the next 2 tests with the existing players, given not much time around too. But having said that, you know, it's important for the sporting world to again acknowledge that the COVID threat is looming, and there's a lot that the sporting world will be affected in the coming few days. Australian Open needs to be held there, and looks pretty doubtful. And the football scene in Europe also looks pretty dull currently. Uh, Coming to Australia, and how it was not at all a match, and how the third test also ended, only in terms of how England batted and all. Now it gets even worse for the cricket fans because the games also might not just conclude. So maybe England may like the break, but it's probably imminent. What announcement will be made, and what necessarily would be announced in terms of if the tournament will take place or not. So quick update on the Ashes tour. Uh, and also, of course, we both wanted to talk about the New Zealand legend Ross Taylor, and he's announced that he's going to retire after the summer campaign. I think Bangladesh is traveling to New Zealand for a couple of tests, and there are probably 6 more ODIs, maybe even Afghanistan also playing some. I'm not very sure, but just quick thoughts on the legend of Ross Taylor, Poundboy, and how he did trouble India in the past as well.
I think a fantastic career coming to an end. One of the best players that New Zealand has ever produced. Is a traditional Maori guy playing in the New Zealand cricket team. Very few people of that tribe come and play in the cricket team. Most of them are rugby fans. But one of the best ever batsmen produced by New Zealand across all the formats. I think when his career started initially, in the initial phase, he was touted to be a good white ball batsman, a good one-day player, and a T20 player. But as his career progressed, he developed into a fantastic test player as well. And he's by the time he hangs up his boots, he will obviously be the batsman with the most number of test runs for New Zealand. I'm pretty much sure that that's going to be surpassed by certain Kane Williamson in the days to come. Uh, Cannot forget his innings of 290 against Australia at the Wacker. One of the best innings you will see a visiting batsman play in Australia. And he also had a very good captaincy career until it was brought to an abrupt end due to some misunderstandings between him and Mike Hessen, who wanted to get Brendan McCullum. But all in all, a brilliant batsman. No one can forget his favorite shot, the oik or the sweep shot over cow corner or over mid wicket. That was the parent shot that Ross Taylor would be associated with. And I think winning the World Test Championship was a fitting finale, if you would like to say, as before his career ended, because a player of his caliber certainly deserves some silverware uh, during his tenure. Uh, there have been heartbreaks over the 2015 World Cup final and the 2019 World Cup final, but I think he'll be very happy and pleased. And the fact that both him and Kane Williamson were at the crease when the winning runs were scored in that final against India was the icing on the cake for him. A thorough gentleman, one who never included himself in any sort of controversies, like many other New Zealand cricketers do. They quietly go about doing their job. And he was a big match player. Whenever the chips were down or whenever the side needed him to make those match defining runs, he was always there. And he certainly had a very good record against India. Uh, also a player who was very dominant on the leg side for most part of his early career. And like I said, that as he became a good test player, he developed his game on the offside as well and became an all-round player around the wicket. One of the greats of New Zealand cricket and New Zealand batting, and the game will surely be much poorer without him in days to come. Just one last bit on that Ashes you were mentioning. I think with the way the things are going on the field, England would be very happy if the series was called off due to the COVID restrictions because they have been absolutely shambolic to say the least. We have seen many other England sides capitulate down under, but this has to be one of the worst sides to be over there in Australia. And as a neutral fan, you expected a close series, or you wanted a close series between both the sides, because Australia also are not that good as they are being made to look. And I think like it happens with most English captains who are judged on the Ashes series, and especially in away Ashes series. And Joe Root has lost a couple of them now and hasn't won the home Ashes that he was in charge of. The series was drawn and Australia retained the Ashes, so I see very difficult uh, for him to retain his captaincy. Although he's had a phenomenal year as a batsman, but despite that, England has lost 9 Test matches this year, which is the joint most with Bangladesh, who hold that record when they were new entrants into Test cricket. So that is something that they cannot be proud of, and it's also proved one thing, that England do not have the capacity, or the English board does not have the capacity to concentrate on all the formats at the same time, because for 20-25 years they ignored white ball cricket, and we know what happened. Suddenly, after the 2015 World Cup debacle, they put all their energies into revitalizing white cricket and uh, ignored red ball cricket, and that has come to a naught now in the next 6 or 7 years, following that decision to put all their eggs into the white ball basket. So as it is, we have very less teams playing quality Test cricket, and England has been the home of Test cricket, one nation where the format is absolutely loved, and we see packed stadiums in Test matches whenever they are played over there, and you don't want to see such a team being put on the park who is not up to scratch. So you know, uh, remains to be seen how they cope up with this disaster again down under. But as cricket fans, we would see, love to see a better English cricket team and put up a fight against the Aussies. So if they can escape a final drubbing, then that will be the silver lining for them, as far as I'm concerned. But that looks very unlikely.
So true. Uh, of course, as Indian fans, as all as we've pretty much have seen those salty English cricket fans and journalists who've been kind of quite vocal about everything that India has not done in the last few years. And also, as an Indian fan, it feels the MCG win or the draw at SCG or even the Gabba victory feels even more special against this pretty good Australian side as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it from our side this week. Uh, hopefully, let's hope India does get its first Test series win in South Africa by beating South Africa in Wanderers, and I think the stage is set, the track is set, and of course, like how Pawan Bhai rightly mentioned, Wanderers. I think India really has a big, very advantage considering we've never lost there. That's about it, guys, from our side this week. Take care, and yes, happy cricket, and also have a happy New Year as well.
Yeah, wishing Happy New Year to all our listeners and their families. And we shall reconvene after the end of the New Year's Test match, and hope the coming New Year is going to be all good and lucky for all of you guys. Thank you very much.